Welcome back to Whole Human Capacity. Today, I was guided to take us in a little bit of a different direction. Not necessarily, I would say, teaching as much on this episode as letting you into, with a view or a window into who I am, how I like to coach, how I like to work with my clients, what lights me up, and a little bit of backstory about how I got here. Today, we're going to talk about your divine blueprint. And that is a very special thing to me because it is what I believe is one of my divine gifts that I have been given, the uniqueness of that God seed in me to help others feel and see and know their divine blueprint. When I was growing up, my father, he was in commercial real estate. And I would go up into his office. He worked from home. And so I went up into his office, which was on our third floor. We had a big old house. And there would be sometimes these like schematics laying on his desk. And they were sometimes 3D, sometimes 2D blueprints. They would have like arrows all over them showing where, in a building where the traffic is going into the parking lot, the traffic is coming out of the parking lot. I think that was called ingress and egress. It had multi-dimensions of information in this one schematic. And there was something that felt very alive to me about it, like this 3D alive blueprint that not only just shows like the perimeter of a building and where, the door is and the layout, but it also showed functionality. It showed how, the human, the business, and the clients were to utilize this property. And I found it to be absolutely fascinating. And these things that happen in our life where, in our childhood or earlier in our life, we come across things that you don't really understand the significance of them. You don't get why you experience something or somebody comes across your path or some event happens in your life or something as simple as this, like seeing these schematics and asking him questions about them and trying to understand them, how that actually sets up a foundation for something that's coming down the road for you. Well, for me, those schematics are something that I actually have now been able to understand. I feel and can see and can almost tangibly interact with that schematic in another human. And I call that your divine blueprint. That's a term that came to me. I'm not sure if it's used anywhere else in any other capacity, so I'm just prefacing with that. But to me, it feels like your divine blueprint. It is this 3D schematic that is more than just, a couple linear things on a piece of paper. It's this interplay of our biology, of our human body. It's the interplay of our actual gifts that we're given. It's the way that we are here to see and feel in the world. It's our energetic signature. It's a map, in my opinion, of how your energy flows and how your energy flows in and out, just like those schematics that I had seen on my dad's desk, 30 years ago. And I can tangibly feel that. And I truly love, I know it is part of my purposeful impact here on this planet is to help each of us return to that. Because to me, it's like your power grid. It is this energetic circuitry within you that allows for you to interact in the world, to move through the world in a way that feels good to you, true to you. And in that, you're innately utilizing your divine gifts. You're innately contributing in a way that is significant to this planet, to this earth. And it is allowing you to live, if you are able to tap into this and feel it and get to know it and understand it, to live in a way with energetic overflow. So to me, this is pivotal. This is it, because it's that way of feeling, in my opinion, God within you. It's a way of understanding how you get your communication from the divine, how you tap into another human and be able to offer your gift in a way that is incredibly potent. For me, this is this is a place that has taken me I don't want to say a long time, but it's been my journey to be able to put all these pieces together. It's the combination of all the different facets of my training, of my interests, of gifts that I think I innately was born with, which I believe we all have them in our own capacity for whatever we're here to do to make an impact. And all of it has kind of come together into this modality that I truly have come to know deeply in my own life and working with a lot of people and seeing this play out. When we are able to understand this, when we are able to take what is in energetic form in a what might seem like an obscure fashion, right? It's in our energy body, it's just in the way we move, it's in our emotional body, and we're able to logically understand it. We're able to actually understand the blueprint and see the blueprint. We now can combine, right, these, in my opinion, divine ways of interacting with the world with actual 3D logic and rational thought and action taking. And then we tangibly can move through this plane, this earth, and really do things in a way that feels so aligned and so potent. I have really, for a long time, I thought that this blueprint was here to help us live out our purpose. And I've been kind of toying with this word purpose because for those of us who are high achievers, we can latch on to purpose. And I do think there's something behind that word that feels true, right? But I'm also stepping away from that word for a little bit, just in the context of this, because what I don't want this to be is a way of looking at our energetic signature, our life, our things like, and have some goal attached to it. Because really, if we can allow ourselves to get to the place where our purpose is purely to be here, it's purely to exist, it's purely to be the vessel in which this beautiful divine blueprint is exuding in the world. And through that, we are contributing at such a high level, right? Then we take out the pressure, we take out the need to achieve, we take out, all of the goalposts that we're trying to hit by the word purpose. What came to me when I was thinking about this was, what if it's like, in this schematic is also the signature, the pathway, the map for your most potent way of impacting the world. And it's optional. It's like an optional impact option, right? Like where if you choose to really say, I'm here to contribute and I want to impact and I want to do things that leave a legacy, in your divine blueprint is the information for that, the code for that, the information that will allow you to move in a way where you become the vessel, the conduit for that beautiful unfolding of what is to flow through you, to happen in this world, starts to really come into play. And I just think sometimes if we're high achieving people and perfectionists and we use the word purpose, then there's something we got to achieve. And if we don't achieve it, then we're not worthy. And that's not what this is. That's what I've come to know. I used to think that about the divine blueprint, because I think that was my reference point. But the more I settle into it, the more I sit with it, the more I feel it in my own body, the more it's asking of me to say, like, no, you don't have to achieve anything. You just get to be you. This is a returning home. It is a returning, I guess you could say, to your birthright, to how you were created, without the layers of armor, without the protective patterns, without, I guess you could say, conditioning, and getting to your true, pure essence. I really believe many of us feel this. We feel this in our everyday life. We feel our blueprint. We feel the schematic. We feel the energy. But yet our human mind, our humanness, doesn't necessarily have all the language to fully understand it. And I feel that's one of my gifts, is to help give someone the language to understand it by mirroring back to them what they're saying to me. I'm not the one telling you this. I'm just the one saying, hey, this is where you're at. I can feel it. You're tapping into it. What does it feel like? What is it like for you? What's coming in? Where you get to know and understand you. I do believe, though, that there are tools out there that likely were given to us divinely to be able to understand this. And some resonate with each of us in different ways. Some may not resonate at all. But there are tools that I believe help the logical mind to grasp this very esoteric thing that actually I've come to know too, is that our logical mind, I believe, blocks some of our understanding, because when we have tapped into this power source, to this power grid, right? The schematic within us, our blueprint, there are likely for many of us times where that was very powerful. And we may have encountered a situation in our life where that power was not perceived well by others, potentially. Maybe there was shame or punishment. Maybe there was something that happened that felt scary. And so I do believe that one of those layers of armor is saying, okay, let's quiet this down. Let's dampen this down. And if we're able to remove that by giving ourselves understanding, we can find compassion for our journey. We can find understanding of our journey. We can find how everything on our journey, even if it felt painful and scary and hard, truly was here to serve us. Some of these tools include things like looking up the meaning of your name. I truly believe our names are given to us with purpose, for a reason. Look up the meaning to your name. Ask to be guided to the information that helps you tap into why you were named what you were named. You know, there are modalities like human design, or even like the Myers-Briggs, or for some people, astrology or numerology. You know, any of those types of modalities that might resonate with you can give you understanding into certain parts of the schematic for you. I also believe that our biology plays a role in this. So, you know, really understanding, if you go, you know, your lab values, your genetics, ways that your body clears and detoxifies, and the ways that it doesn't. And so that you can kind of understand how that energy is ebbing and flowing for you uniquely in your physical body. I believe our lived experience is a tool. I truly believe that we are guided to things in our life for a purpose and for a reason. And that lived experience is unique to us. And it also is part of our training. It's part of what gives us the foundation underneath us for us to, I believe, in the middle years of our life, start really using our wisdom to impact others. It is where this kind of intersection of that part of the schematic that is your optional impact, you know, playbook that you can follow, and you're marrying that with ways that your body has already come across some of these things in the past. And now you've set yourself up to not be coming from a place of totally unknown, but you can lean back on your experiences, your wisdom, the things that you've learned, and compound that as you really step into impact. I believe, you know, understanding your why. There's many different ways of doing this. I personally have enjoyed following Simon Sinek's books and his methodology in that. I love doing those sessions for people. It just brings tears to my eyes when somebody lands on the language that they can feel deep within them, but they haven't been able to put language to it. It is incredibly powerful. The other tool that we can use as we turn our nervous system back on and we become safe in our own body is feeling our true impulses, our desires, our wants, our yearnings for what we crave for to have in this lifetime. Those are guidance. Those are GPS coordinates. That's just not, you know, frivolous information. And so all of these things together start to weave this tapestry, this story, this interplay, this, you know, 3, 4, 5, 10D, whatever you want to say, schematic that is your divine blueprint. I really think it's vital to understand this. And my lived experience has been that as a family medicine physician, and then in functional medicine, and then in coaching and in motherhood. And I have to say, you know, my lived experience tells me that when we don't understand our divine blueprint, it is a way for the body to find dis-ease. And I'll flip that around a different way. As we come to know our divine blueprint and settle into it and move with it and not fight against it, right, we are able to bring homeostasis back into the body. I truly believe this is one of the reasons for most of the dis-ease states in our physical health. You know, when we cannot ebb and flow the way our creative, that schematic, right? The way the traffic goes in and the traffic goes out, as I was saying on those blueprints, right? If we're not able to do that, there's gonna be backup, right? If you think about that diagram I was saying about my dad in those blueprints, If the way in for the traffic is the same lane as the way out, there's going to be a traffic jam. It's not going to work. People are going to be yelling and screaming, and it's not going to go well. The same thing happens in our physical body. This is vital, in my opinion, to true health, longevity, and thriving in our life. This to me is not like I say it's optional because we all have free will. Fair. But I don't think it's optional if you want to live a life of health and vitality. Understanding this is imperative. To me, when we are able to tap into our divine blueprint, it also equals we're able to tap into our full creativity. When we are, again, going against the current, we're in that traffic jam. The creativity coming into us and our desires and what we truly are, like want to create and do, they get blocked. The glasses we're wearing are foggy, right? However you want to look at it. It's a true block of energy. And so as you learn this, as you understand it, what you will find is incredible. The ideas flooding in, the amount of intellectual property, right? Your own unique methods start to pour in a way that is unfathomable to me. It is the coolest thing to watch. What I also find is as we tap into this blueprint, there is a process that simultaneously happens. And I find it to be extremely loving, extremely compassionate, and extremely kind to ourselves, because what happens is our nervous system also starts to rewire and we find safety from within. And I've watched it happen. There is this just sense of peace that happens within someone, actual happiness, fulfillment, the ability to feel joy and sustain joy happens. It's not fleeting. It's not coming in and then we're crashing back to despair, right? It's there because the blueprint, this divine blueprint is here as this way for us to truly live the most amazing life we could ever more than imagine. It's beyond our wildest dreams. And so as we tap into that, there is just this overwhelming sense of true fulfillment where we really release the word regret. I don't believe that as you tap into your blueprint and you really follow it and allow it to flow through you, it's almost like there's the sign that has the two lines for the equal sign with a line through it. It does not equal regret. You can't regret because you're in a place where you're moving and you're living in such alignment to who you truly are that there is no regret. And in that state of being, what ends up happening is we contribute to humanity in a way that brings us so much joy. I will always say this. I really believe one of our human needs, our yearnings, is to contribute to humanity. I think if anybody doesn't, it means that they're truly just in a state of energy depletion where they can't even tap into that. I really believe every human on this planet has a desire to do that in some way. And when we can get into our energetic blueprint and we start to understand how our energy moves and what, this way of impact is and what our divine gifts are, suddenly the how becomes really easy and it starts to unfold in front of you and invitations come and things line up and you are lit up and you move into what I've talked about in the past of stewardship energy, where you are kind of steering the boat. You're allowing that energy to move through you. You're not having to muster it. You're not having to go do it. It's just happening. And you get to take it all in and experience the ride, right? So in other ways of saying this is, to me, when we understand our divine blueprint and we create the safety in our body to feel it and to be in it and to trust it, that's where we truly come to know God in a way that it just takes your breath away. It's so incredibly powerful and loving and beautiful that I know that's why I'm being guided to talk about this. It's just amazing. And through all of this, to me, what happens is we leave a legacy. And not a legacy that has our name necessarily, could be, but on some building in some college or, some structure somewhere. But a legacy where the ripple of impact is moving and doesn't ever stop, where it keeps going. That's legacy, right? That to me is wow. That you just can't even fathom. like the ripple effect of you living in your divine blueprint, being who you truly are in your own unique way, and allowing yourself to have a life that good, what that can do for generations to come is mind-blowing. So what is the cost? I always like to ask myself this question when I'm evaluating something, like, what's the cost? What does it cost me to not know this information? What does it cost me to not go on the journey of exploring this and trying to understand it? In my opinion, it costs a lot. It costs things that you can't even put a price tag to. It's going to cost you your health. And I feel kind of bold saying that because the world I used to come from wanted some sort of randomized control trial to tell you that that's true. I'm just telling you from my gut. I'm telling you from my lived experience. I'm telling you from seeing thousands of patients with diabetes and hypertension and cancer and autoimmune diseases and depression and anxiety. It breaks my heart because all along within each of those people, within each of us is this God-given blueprint that has been with us, and it's always there. And we just didn't know it. I didn't know it. It's taken my journey to really understand it. And I know, and I'm giving myself grace, that I guarantee you there's going to be a 2.0 version of this podcast because more is going to come across my path. A deeper level of understanding is going to unfold. I'm sharing with you where my level of understanding and wisdom and knowledge is at this point in time, but I know it's going to grow. And to me, the cost of not knowing this is significant. What happens when our physical body is in overdrive, when we're literally walking against the current, or we're trying to be in that traffic jam and push the traffic out of the way, right? We literally go into basically in a hormonal burnout, right? Our HPA axis shuts down. We also, in that, lose connection with ourselves, lose connection with the divine, lose connection with our children and our family, right? That is just so sad. And I know this because I was there. I am not speaking out of theory here. I am speaking out of true lived experience. I have been in the place where I did not understand this, and I was walking up the current thinking that that's what I'm supposed to do, that that's the blueprint, that that's the schematic I'm to follow because that's what was laid out. That's what looks good. That's what everybody's telling me to do. But there comes a point where you just can't do it anymore, where your literal human body is saying, I'm done. I am done. Your spiritual body starts saying that. Your emotional body starts saying that. And everything starts kind of coming down. And it doesn't come down necessarily in like pure shutdown and everything just goes away. Everything just gets dim and then dimmer and dimmer. And here's the problem that's so incredibly sad, frustrating. I don't know if I have the word for it, is that it doesn't happen all at once, right? So that you actually see the contrast of it. It happens a little bit at a time. So you never actually really say, oh my gosh, the lights just got turned out. It's like somebody's taking the dimmer and just slowly turning it down day by day by day. And you're like, oh, it's okay. I can still see, right? But your level of comparison, right? Your level of contrast starts shrinking. And so you don't even realize it's happening to you until one day you do. And then that's when regret comes. Because the thing that none of us necessarily, you can argue in different ways, but really have more of is time. That is the resource that in this current capacity and the way I'm speaking about it is the finite resource of this whole divine blueprint schematic. Everything else is infinite. We could argue that time is infinite too. But if we're speaking of our lived journey in this 3D realm in this moment in time, in many capacities, it's finite. And so what I'm offering is when you're able to really go from that stage and walk the journey of learning to understand your blueprint, you get guided to the different tools that start to resonate with you. You start understanding, you start moving in that way. You start listening to your body, listening to your knowing, trusting your intuition. Your health will come back. It'll return. Things will start unfolding with ease. Your creativity will come back online. Your connection with yourself, with others, with your family, with the people you deeply care about will start truly like being very incredibly robust. But we need to honor, I think, and have compassion for what I believe keeps us from really feeling our blueprint or taking that first step to initiate the process of understanding it, to even believing what I'm saying is real. And you don't have to. That's up to you. However, I've watched this enough to know that there are some key things, I would say, I'll put them in the words of things, that keep us from really seeing the whole schematic, from really feeling it, understanding it, and then trusting it. The first one is fight or flight, right? As I've said before, I know that if you have, which like I said, I believe we all do in some ways, but if you really are a person who has, like I say, the optional impact part of your schematic turned on, and you want to do things that are big and you have ambition, right? You likely have gone to utilize that energy. You tap into that power grid, and then something happens where either you're shamed, you're punished, you're told you're too intense, you're too bright, quit showing us all up, that kind of flavor of things. Maybe something you tried something, it didn't go the way you wanted to go on the first go around. And so then that's kind of imprinted in the body and in the nervous system as this is a no-go, like this is not safe. Maybe you were told from a young age that it's not allowed, right, to be bold, to go beyond what is currently known as possible. So I just honor that, because to start this process of really understanding your blueprint, you first have to understand where your fight or flight mechanisms are and what's coming up and where you're self-protecting, and have compassion for it and love for it, and allow the body to ease and allow your physical, your humanness to settle. I also believe that when we are in what I call superhuman status, and for those of you who are maybe in medicine and in other career fields, you will know what I mean. And this is the part where you have learned to control everything, predict every variable. Whether you believe it or not, there's a part of you that likes to have the credit that you saved the day, that you helped fix somebody, even though deep down we all know we can't fix anybody. That's not our job. But there is this part of us, it's like, I did that. I caught that. I made that diagnosis, or, and that gets fed. And it's not necessarily a bad thing. But what I will say is, in superhuman status, you are not necessarily really tapping into your intuition. You're not feeling the schematic, the blueprint that's in here. You might be feeling a very slight version of it to allow you to have your personality and your spin on things. But most of that schematic and how you're operating in your life is coming from fear. In my personal opinion, superhuman status comes from prevention of something versus going for something, right? It's us preventing a negative outcome. It's us preventing a financial loss. It's us preventing something versus going for something. To me, it's the human in us that goes for something, because we inherently have to let go of control. We have to let go of understanding the full outcome of what's going to play out. When we're in superhuman status and we think that we can, we have a cape on and we're amazing, we like to control the outcome. So I'm offering that there are so many layers here with compassion that we need to offer ourselves some grace. That if you don't understand your blueprint, if this is something new to you, if you have not connected all these dots, give yourself some grace. Because another layer that keeps us from it is perfectionism, is truly black or white thinking. Like, I did a good job or I did awful. And I have to be perfect. That does fall in interplays with this superhuman status I was talking about, but it doesn't have to. And what drives perfectionism, what's like the undercurrent, in my opinion, at least that I have felt, is shame. And shame is a fascinating thing to me, because we've used it as motivators, us high achievers, to do things. But yet at the same time, we are not fully motivating into the realm of the unknown. We're getting ourselves motivated to hit the ceiling of what is possible. And so we're at the cream of the crop. We're at the top of the top. right? But we're not blowing past that, which is inherently what's in that schematic of our divine blueprint. It is that impact part that I'm talking about is something within you combined with your divine gifts that is here to blow past that ceiling. But perfectionism doesn't let us do that because we don't really go that far. And within the shame that comes with perfectionism also comes community and commiseration. And in some ways, like I guess you could say trauma bonds or a connection that's based on this shame versus connection that's based on being out in the amazing, the vastness, right, of blowing it past that ceiling and being with others who are doing that too. It's very different energy, but yet our fight or flight mechanisms, right, that primal part of us yearns for community, and we'll take it any way we can get it, not even understanding that that's what we're doing. What also I think happens that keeps us from understanding this is that truly, because of all these mechanisms I'm speaking of, our physical human brain does not necessarily have the language, the logic, what I call the interpretation software to understand the signaling that you're getting from your body. And so, especially if your body is numb, this happens, and we have to turn the body back on. But as we turn the body back on, in my opinion, the other part that we also need to do at the same time is rewrite the code, the interpretation software up in here in this beautiful brain of ours that is interpreting those signals. And instead of them being interpreted in a way that invokes fear and constriction and restriction, we're interpreting them in a way that invokes safety and trust and expansion and intrigue and fascination. But this is a process, right? This is the part, if you can't tell, this is the part I love to help people do because it is incredibly, God-smacked, jaw-dropping when you watch someone do this and feel that and rewire their human body to be able to be at one with their divine blueprint, with that schematic. There's nothing like it. There's absolutely nothing like it. And so what I'm offering you today is a window into how I like to work with people, what I like to mirror back to people, what I feel I'm called, what I know my lived experience through all the different modalities of training that I have through my own individual gifts has opened the door for me to help somebody else be able to also tap into that. And I think it's important. I think it's really important. I know that this divine blueprint, that this beautiful schematic that is unique to each one of us is here for us for a reason, on purpose, to allow for us to live the life that we can't even fathom and do some crazy cool things in the process. So I encourage you, maybe start taking some time to ask yourself, what is my divine blueprint? What are the layers for me? Ask for what tools need to come across your path that will help give you the language and the connection to the different facets of this that feel true to you. And above all, if this is something that is like on your radar right now, and because there's nothing worse, in my opinion, than doing all the things you think you're supposed to do and doing them really well and feel like you're still walking in mud and getting nowhere. I know that when somebody comes to this level of work, when they come to the place where they're like, this is a yes, I want to understand this for myself, it means that they have been prepared, that all of the layers have been peeled off that need to be peeled off, that the setting of the story is written exactly at this moment in time for them to be able to receive this information in a way that deeply holds true and that moves somebody in a forward, truly with momentum direction. So don't put this off if this is where you are at. It's time. It is time. And maybe that's the message you needed to hear today, that it's time. It's time to explore this. It's time to understand it. It's time to get to know you. in a way you've never known yourself before. Thanks for being with me today. Keep going. You got this. And I'll talk to you soon. So if this is you, if you have done all the things, you have reframed your life, you've reframed the way you eat, you're moving your body, and something still isn't clicking, reach out. This is my gift. This is my impact purpose here on this earth, and I love helping people do this. Reach out to me, drop me an email at erica@theawakeningtide.com, and I'll set up a time with you where we'll chat. And I know that at the end of that conversation, you're going to feel your blueprint in a way that you've not felt it before. And you're going to be on your way to understanding you at a deeper level, moving through your life with more ease, and finding it to be a lot more fun. And above all, if this message resonated with you, if you know somebody else could really benefit from this, please pass it along, follow along, or like or subscribe. And I'll talk to you soon.